Is the video game crash real? I mean, you hear it all over the place now, right? Falling sales of video game titles, mass layoffs reported every month, so on, so on. The appetite for electronic entertainment appears to be dwindling at a rapid pace, but how can that even be real? I mean, as a child of the late 90s and early 2000s, the idea of playing less video games sound mildly absurd to me. I mean, it is the best entertainment medium in its entirety that we have invented so far. So how come? Well, then I remember when the weirdos, the geeks and gamers like myself were discovering these forms of entertainment, we were surrounded by big, fat, stupid bullies, and what would later on become e-girls and fake gamers, who were, your hobby is stupid, until they saw just how popular it was, and how much money it earned, and then they thought to themselves, I wonder if I can shitify that. And as it turns out, yes they could, as the quality of gaming has dropped severely after a huge quantity of these people decided they wanted to work in gaming, and comics and entertainment at large. But all of the circumstantial evidence aside, what has convinced me more so than anything else that the gaming crash is real and is on the way is the fact that Kotaku, of all places, have been brought within a mouse's winky's distance of realizing the truth. As the title here says, why is it when the player base has never been wider, people are playing fewer games than ever? I wonder, why could that possibly be? We have broadened the appeal to the point of appealing to literally everybody on Earth. Why are people less interested in video games? Why, Kotaku? Why? The fact that this still doesn't somehow get the alarm bells ringing in their minds, however, is quite remarkable. I do think they do have one interesting point here, though, but misses it somewhat. 30 years ago, Toy Story chronicled a generational conflict between an old-timey pull-string doll and a fancy new one with buttons. The two toys learned to get along. This week, a trailer of Toy Story 5 arrived, showing both toys enacting a Butlerian jihad against tablets. While I agree on the potential detriments of excessive screen time, it is telling how the creators of our intended audience of Toy Story's films now identify less with the kids playing with toys, and more with the adults who just spent all of dinner hearing about looksmaxing. So the idea here is that the younger generation is moving away from electronic entertainment and over onto new things, that the older generation is losing touch with what the young people want. I don't actually think so, because here's the thing, the original idea of Toy Story were in essence that these are the same things. The two toys are identical. They are heroes of different eras who wish to do the same thing, who have largely the same values and the same priorities. Indeed, a key part of Toy Story's initial conflict was to convince Buzz that he was a toy and not actually a space ranger, which you can't really do with a tablet, obviously. If you're a child who wants to watch a movie for children, or an adult who wants to watch a movie for adults, you thankfully have options beyond Toy Story. Disrupted as it is, the Hollywood entertainment industry has built-in ecosystems to provide for demographics across all ages. Gaming still doesn't. Nonsense. Absolute fucking nonsense. As this article will be largely Kotaku casting around for reasons for why gaming is failing beyond the focus on the wider audience. And make no mistake, that is the reason why it is failing. The idea that you need to appeal to everybody to appeal to anybody is idiotic, and yet it has been the guiding principle of gaming for goddamn 10 years now, with every large title aiming to appeal to a broader demographic with every installment. It's been an ominous month for the video game industry. AI infrastructure is bodying the consumer technology world. Another multi-million-dollar live service game failed, oh my god, failed to meet its mark, while Sony appears to be rebuilding themselves entirely in that image, trying to catch up to Fortnite, basically. Not only is Microsoft singularly focused on AI integration, but as I wrote this, the heads of Xbox abruptly announced their departure and replaced with reps from AI wings of the company. This too is, by the way, because this is the logical conclusion of the let's appeal to everyone line of thinking. If you need to appeal to everyone, you need a game with so many features, so many bips and bops and buttons, as to make it basically unprogrammable and uncreatable by anybody focusing actually appealing to a specific market. You need AI to smooth the process of implementing every single gosh darn thing that everybody from a 5-year-old to an 85-year-old could enjoy, instead of making one game for the 5-year-old and one game for the 85-year-old. And hell, in many cases, it's still going to be the same game, if you'd only, built it right. All of these dramatic pivots occur in the shadow of inconvenient player trends. More players are playing fewer games. The games they do play are years old. Leading a forever game is obviously lucrative to the company behind it, and why Sony is wagering they'll nail at least one for themselves, but it's a formula that can only shrink the industry. And actually, I don't think that's the case either. I believe that there has always been a lot of room for forever games. Fortnite is not some brand new phenomenon here. We have World of Warcraft as a preceding one. The big dominating titles have pretty much always been around to some degree. Has it gotten greater now? Sure, but even these titans will grow and eventually fall off. Well, except for Fortnite and World of Warcraft, I guess, who appear to actually be eternal. But the odds of actually nailing one of those titles are pretty minuscule. So why, when population has never been more immersed in gaming, with even a third of octogenarians hitting Candy Crush, is success so sluggish? Taste and preference differ across demographics and geographics. Impassioned fans from European rail sim lovers to Latin fighting gaming community make do even when the large industry doesn't provide. Those hungry for more deck builders, 4X games and turn-based RPGs will find something to eat. And therein lies the thing. Why are sales so sluggish? Because these are now the ultra niches. 4X games and turn-based RPGs, they aren't supposed to be niches, okay? Strategy gaming isn't supposed to be a niche. In fact, it used to be the primary fucking pillar of video games. Things like RPGs as well. The fact that these have been made into lesser focus groups is why sales are dying off. People now have to seek out, there we go, niche alternatives produced by a team of 2 Bulgarians in their basement who somehow managed to produce a game with infinitely more soul and passion than 500 employees at some gigacorporation. Behold Total War as an example. The Creative Assembly studio has only grown more bloated for every year that passes by. Last time I checked in on them, they had 800 employees, and yet the quality of their games has only dropped since. If you look objectively at the list of things that medieval Total War had in terms of mechanics, availability to playstyles, units, etc., features, it blows Total War Warhammer out of the fucking water, even with 3 goddamn installments, unless you count every single vaguely different tech tree as a brand new feature, that is, which is also one of the downfalls, mind you. Back in Total War days of Kingdom, they created like 4 different expansions with wildly different factions and playstyles, and they even tweaked the rules of the campaigns to fit those objectives, like having the New World where the Spaniards have units of like 30 dudes against 200 natives. And that was one expansion, mind you. 4 campaigns in one expansion. Now, you get one campaign in a $60 video game for Total War Warhammer 2 and nothing in 3. You're basically just paying a premium for a DLC faction pack at that point. But the biggest gap between culture is time, not space. There we see devastating stagnation. The youngest players are burning unsupervised hours on Roblox. The oldest are in Odin sleep until single-player blockbusters catch their eyes. The middle of the pack, getting the hang of disposable income, are discovering other ways to spend. The biggest players in this industry are still waiting for this entire block to gravitate towards the next Fortnite or Grand Theft Auto, but year after year this just looks like more wishful and harmful thinking. So, the Roblox thing is simply not something you can avoid. Kids aren't going to understand quality gaming unless you literally force them to. And social experiment video games like Roblox, well, one of the first things that young people tend to gravitate towards is, of course, societal connection, which is what Roblox is pretending to sell you, whilst grooming you into some... I'm saying that on YouTube. Basement. Through the 90s, the video game industry very intentionally tried to narrow its players down to adolescent males, you know, the people who purchase video games, and controlled demographic that made marketing much easier. Movies, music, and television did not do this beyond specific programs, because they knew that a business relied on having something to sell to everyone. Bullshit. Have you fucking seen the 90s? Listen. The 90s was basically an era of very specific tailor-made entertainment for very specific groups. We had specific sitcoms with gay friends that appealed to specific female and homosexual audiences. We had stuff like Xena Warrior Princess, who appealed to like 13-year-old boys, let's put it like that. We had Hercules, which appealed to a slightly younger demographic again. You divided, I mean, literally... You didn't make a product back then for everyone, you narrowed in on a very unique demographics. And even then, we did occasionally have the odd tighten out, like Friends, for example, that lasted for like 500 fucking seasons, but they too, just as now, are the exception rather than the rule. It is no coincidence that the video game industry found its biggest success when the facade slipped. The Sims, Pokemon, and the DVD capabilities of the PlayStation 2 were boomtowns made up of people who did not previously see themselves as the primary audience for games and gaming hardware. Are you insane? The Sims and Pokemon were video games for gamers. They didn't draw in a wider audience immediately. There weren't hordes of girls being like, oh, I'm into gaming now because it's The Sims. No, this only really happened with subsequent installations in the same series when The Sims became more of a feminine oriented video game because they liked to play house. It wasn't created again for them specifically, it simply ended up being a really good product that also happened to have wide appeal. I mean, the entire idea of Pokemon is going around beating up animals and then forcing them to fucking fight each other for medals, goddammit. Hey. Gaming is starting to broaden its horizon, even if the dude-focused marketing division remained entrenched for years. If there is a crash on the horizon, it's likely Nintendo will be the ones walking away from it the least scathed again. Games like Mario, Zelda, and Mario Kart truly are widely beloved across generations, demographically pliable. The company has long understood the importance of trying to redefine what the experience of playing a game can be, and again, you defeat your own arguments. Again, this is casting for excuses. Mario, Zelda, and Mario Kart are some of the oldest gaming entities out there who still appeal very much so to their core demographic audience. People play Mario because it's Mario, not because it's everything in between. It still, at the end of the day, despite all of the various reimaginings, has a very solid core. Mario is there, and he needs to stop the bad guy from abducting the princess, and occasionally he'll do some in RPG format. Sometimes he'll be Paper when he does it. Sometimes it'll be Peach trying to save Mario, but the core principles remain the same because they're solid. If we continue to coalesce around 4 or 5 genres, then we won't get the new players because those people have already said we're not interested in your genres. Former Sony Interactive Entertainment chairman Sean Layden said back in 2023, "Don't kid yourself that someone who said no to Call of Duty for the last 15 years is going to start suddenly saying yes to Call of Duty." And that too, by the way, is again the counter-argument against the wider audience. If somebody already says, I don't want that, stop trying to fucking appeal to them. And it is worth mentioning that the sales for Call of Duty, one of game's evergreen cash cows, slipped last year. The current youth opting for Roblox and Five Nights at Freddy's lore are agnostic to the graphics pushing that once defied industry progress because it doesn't exist anymore. The people going to concerts, exhausted of being online but still enjoying posting, are compromising with the cruddiest flashcard digicams the 2000 had to offer. The fans who once reliably showed up for every new salvo in AAA console wars are now busy booking colonoscopies. And they're not buying video games even if they weren't. It isn't because they've aged out of gaming. Indeed, again, your very argument lies on the idea that gaming can appeal to anyone. So why do you suddenly think that people aged out of it? There may be an argument that people grew more busy over the years, but every time a big blockbuster game releases, you see the forums of the game overrun by people saying, I took the weekend off to play this, or the week, you get the drift here. It's that games are shit now. The reason why people don't flock to the next AAA gaming extravaganza is because they've gotten used to expecting that it's probably going to be ass. Bethesda was one of those companies that I trusted implicitly, and I would buy anything they put out, and then they released Starfield. Enough said. As gaming rigs return to the 6,000 range, the island of high-performance players will recede to the peninsula of 30,000 or so people who unironically have XXX in the username. The biggest gaming companies are placing unsustainable bets that rely on each one of these kinds of players showing up and subscribing to a singular vision of gaming. These are growing pains and maturing at the worst possible times, but as a result of intentional decisions, not inevitable fate. Yes, the intentional decisions behind your thinking. God, this is literally not seeing the forest for all of the fucking trees in your way. And indeed, I don't even think gaming will be particularly affected by the rising cost of hardware, simply because, again, graphics haven't fucking evolved. The only thing that has actually seen a rise in constant requirements for PC gaming these days isn't graphic cards, it isn't the number of RAM sticks on your machine, it's the number of fucking terabyte hard drives you own. As every game is a 600 gig fucking install these days. No. The solution to this problem is to allow the crash to happen. It is to allow the big companies that aimed at pleasing everyone to suffer the full weight and burning displeasure of their own hubris. And then, once they've been supplanted by the companies who are like, oh, this is my audience, it's small and cute and I appeal to it, they will then grow up and probably repeat the exact same fucking mistakes yet again, as you are far better off appealing to an actual demographic that will actually show up and purchase your game, as Total War did before it employed 800 fucking people, than trying yet again to cast the net out there and pray to God that a 12-year-old who's currently obsessed with playing around with fancified digital Legos will somehow want to give your innovative AAA experience a go. Like, it actually kind of amazes me. Okay, so my cousin has a pair of now fairly old children, right? Or oldish, 8, 12, 10 range, thereabouts, right? And their gaming skills are fucking atrocious. It's remarkable, frankly, where they can play a game on a tablet really, really great with their thumbs and shit, and you can clearly see that they're capable of playing the game at a fairly high level, as in able to play levels and progress the campaign in whatever runner or shooter they're playing, right? But put them in front of a PC with anything of presumed equal complexity, and it is like fucking driving into a brick wall. Like, I have literally seen the same 9-year-old child play a shooter on an iPad and be perfectly competent at it, but the moment I place his ass in front of a computer, it's like you cut off both of his hands. We have a generation here whose skill set, and I know we're calling gaming a skill set now, but listen, what am I doing for a fucking living? Has atrophied to the point where it only exists in a hyper-specific focused arena. If anything, this should be yet another indicator that you don't go broad, you go specific. Anyways, yes, Kotaku. There are ever more players, and ever fewer of them are playing games. If you simply allow that thought to ruminate around your heads for another 4 or 5 years, I'm sure you too will eventually arrive at the inescapable conclusion. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.